Hey guys, it's Alix.
And Kayla.
And we're married, not related, definitely codependent.
But in a cute way, and she got it right today.
What's up? What's
she
up?
She got the intro right.
You know, sometimes I do things right.
Feeling lucky.
Sometimes I'm not the problem. Sometimes I'm right.
TBD. TV
Not TBD.
We're coming to not you, but we're coming live from Nika.
Yeah.
And we've got
our favorite place.
2 of 3 dogs here with us. If you know, you know. We got Vladimir in the house.
Our Vladdy Daddy.
Our Vladdy Daddy. She is not actually named Vladimir after Putin, but that's her nickname because she is a tiny dictator.
Her name's Tortilla, which is like the perfect name for her.
Right. And yeah, so we're here in Nicaragua still. You could tell by the studio if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're not watching on YouTube, what are you doing? Go watch on YouTube.
Yeah, what are you doing if you're not watching there? And subscribing.
Okay, I will say I never watch podcasts on YouTube, so I get it.
I have started to recently, and actually it's nice. I never used to understand why people did, but I really like it.
I do get the facial expression, like, because it can translate differently. You know, like I see clips, of course, on socials.
Yeah.
I like audio podcasts because then I feel like I can multitask. You know, I can like use my hands. I could be doing other stuff, whereas like I want less screen time. You know what I mean? So I'm probably not promoting you to go watch us on YouTube right now, but listen, watch, do whatever. Anything helps.
Works for us.
We love you. We're so happy you're here. And also, if you like it or if you hate it, share it with a friend.
Okay.
Because sharing
is caring.
Today, we are talking about, do you even know where you are, what we're doing?
I do know.
What are we talking about?
First time.
The first time. First time what?
With a girl.
Yes. Is
there any other first time that we would talk about?
There's no other first time that's worth mentioning. Not like your first child, your first dog, first love.
First time is very specific.
Okay. So we are talking about first time with a girl. As usual, we like to co-create these episodes with our sister wives, with our listeners, because first of all, you guys are freaking hilarious. You have the best stories. And I don't know, it's just more fun that way. I feel like it's more fun doing it together. Feels like a little...
I like it.
So
what do you got for us?
Well, first we're going to do It's My Turn to Lead, which will be connected to the first time with a girl. But I also wanted to share this because in addition to stories, like, okay, first of all, I asked people for their stories. And the first time I asked, we only got a few submissions. I was like, okay, they're feeling a little shy. That's okay. So I put up some polls instead because sometimes people are more comfortable to just like tap a poll response. So I just wanted to share some of the responses from the polls before I did the lead game. Okay. So, these are all out of order. Okay. So the first question was, how was it your first time with a girl? The options were, it was awkward AF. That's what 20% said. 65% said it was magical, life-changing, incredible. And 15% said, meh. So I was kind of surprised by that, honestly. 65% to be like, it was magical, like, I understand that it would be life-changing, because probably...
That was my experience.
I'm just surprised because, like, usually when you talk to a straight person or someone who's having sex for the first time, it's like...
Yeah. You're like, it's okay.
Yeah, it is kind of, like, overhyped, So...
Sure.
I was surprised by that. I asked, how did you feel going into it? And 10% said terrified. I was also surprised by that. I thought it would be way higher. But 76% said scared but excited. So I thought, like, okay, that tracks. Like, they're still a little scared. And then 14% said purely stoked. So they were like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'm a freaking zaddy.
Oh my gosh.
I got this. And there was also an option for other where they could submit, their own thing. And only 2 people submitted, but they said it was the happiest I've felt in my whole entire life.
Amazing.
And wait, what was the other one that they said? And then they said I was absolutely wasted, but oh no, that was it. Okay, I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Okay, that was a response to another one. Okay, so then I asked Sorry, these are all out of order and it's making it. Oh, I asked how old they were. 44% were in high school or college. So I was also like, damn, that's
Okay.
honestly amazing because it just goes to show that
Yeah.
people are coming out younger, 35% were 22 to 29, 12% were 30 to 35, and 9% were 36 to 45.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I kind of was also surprised by that in
So
some
most
ways.
people before 30.
Yeah, way before 30, high school or college.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I asked what happened to you two after. So 14% said nothing, never saw her again. And 23% said we talked a little bit and then it just kind of fizzled, like normal. 48%, we love a lesbian U-Haul moment. We dated naturally. Yeah. And 15%, okay, that's more than the nothing, never saw them again crowd. 15% said we're married now.
Unbelievable.
But also, is it? Like, we're talking about lesbians here,
15%, because like 15% of the population doesn't marry the first person they hook up with.
I would guess no, but then I'm like, probably there's a lot of religious people, and a lot of lesbianism is a religion, okay? That's what we're getting at here.
I don't know a lot of like high school sweethearts, I know like a handful.
Well, even the high school sweethearts I know, they weren't each other's first time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's definitely high. 15% is super high.
Yeah.
And then I asked, did you come out after? And 33% said I was already out. 47% said no, it still took me more time after, which I was kind of surprised by that. Like, I thought that was a lot higher. And then 19% said yes, I came out right away. And then I had put a box up that said other, and quite a few people responded saying I'm still in the closet, which I thought was super interesting. And
we have sister wives who aren't out yet,
and we love them.
That's cool.
Yes. And hopefully, I don't want to say like hopefully this makes you come out, like you do you, but I was surprised by that. I was like, oh, I didn't even think to put that as an option.
Yeah.
And kind of like in that same category, there were also quite a few people that were like, I'm just still in the middle of it. Like I basically have just hooked up with the girl for the first time and I'm like figuring it out right now.
You came to the right place.
I know. I love it. And then some people were like, I'm not really explicitly out publicly, but like my friends know, my family knows. Sure. It's just like more private. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I thought that was super interesting.
That is interesting. That's a fun poll.
Yeah. So I wanted to share those with you guys for anyone who missed it on Instagram or didn't reply and didn't get to see the results or anything. But okay, a quick game. So you have 3 options. I'm going to read you a prompt and you're going to either say, it happened to me, it didn't happen to me, or I wish it had, / thank God it didn't.
Okay.
Okay? So I was more nervous than I had ever been with men.
Yeah, absolutely.
So happened to you.
Yeah.
Okay. This is so funny because I over prepared like it was a job interview.
No, I didn't prepare at all.
Were you drunk?
I was drunk, yeah.
So that kind of like helps, I think. I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like that can help to take the edge off.
I didn't even think about it.
Okay, well, we'll get into that more in just a little bit. But something went wrong immediately.
No.
Didn't happen to you. All right, don't get too excited thinking about this. You just relax.
It's a nice moment.
Okay. We laughed at the worst possible moment.
No, there was no laughing.
Okay. I apologized for no reason.
No.
I had a wait, this is different moment.
I don't think I was thinking a lot.
Alex has this really strange ability. Not strange, like I think it's even like 50-50 of the population. I don't know. So it's probably not strange. To me, I can't imagine it, where you can actually just be blank in the mind. Like you don't think. Even when it's like even when I'm meditating, relaxing, I still have thoughts. And you have...
I do too. Sometimes.
You've told me. You're like, no, there's just...
Nothing comes through.
I can't even fathom that. So I do believe you when you said I wasn't thinking that much.
No, I would think I was just like feeling,
So
know?
in,
It's like,
yeah.
exactly. Just in it.
Okay, because the next one is I was in my head the whole time.
Not at all.
Okay. I felt calm instead of anxious.
I wasn't anxious. I don't think I was calm. I think I was like
Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's like,
It was just like very passionate. So
right.
just like,
yeah.
but not stressed or anything.
Afterwards, I had an identity crisis.
Absolutely. Intensely.
Intensely, you did. Afterwards, I felt weirdly peaceful.
Yeah, like I would say
Like both were happening.
it wasn't like I hooked up with this person and I'm laying there and I'm like having an identity crisis. It was more like now I'm pursuing this relationship and I have to hide my whole life and now I'm having an identity crisis.
Yeah.
But I wasn't panicking after hooking up with them. I was like, that was amazing.
Yeah. But it was more like the longer term effect of like,
Yeah.
if I'm hooking up with them, that means I could be gay. And like, what does it mean if
Yeah,
I'm
like
gay?
I remember like a week later, like she sent me flowers to my house but I had like 5 roommates because I was still in college.
Yeah.
And I lied and said they were from somebody else.
From a guy.
From a guy.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Well, yeah.
like, so and that kind of stuff would like stress me the fuck out.
You're also the worst liar in the world, so I'm sure your friends could tell. And you don't like.
No, they didn't know.
You don't like lying, which is a good thing. But
Yeah.
it's like, of course, all of that's gonna stress you out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I immediately wanted to text my best friend.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
We never saw each other again. I know that's not the case.
Yeah, we dated.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready to read some of the stories?
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm going to have you read them because I don't read well.
Let's do it. Let's get into our first listener
Can
story.
I also just give a tiny spoiler alert at the beginning? Because I was very surprised by this in the best way. Because you know how I feel about bi men. I love them so much. And bi women, whatever. But it's like, so we had a bi guy write in his first time with a girl too.
No
Which
way.
I thought was just like, I was like just not expecting that, you know? And so, yeah,
Amazing.
Little spoiler at
Should
the
we
top.
start with that one?
Okay, fine.
Okay. Since you're excited about it.
I don't know. I was just like, I was so surprised,
That's
you know?
so cool. Hey, wives.
Hey.
That's right. I was waiting for that. I'm a bi guy in my mid-30s, but I'd only ever been with men. Dating men felt easier, more familiar, and honestly safer for me. I always knew I liked women too, but I built my whole adult life in one direction. Last year I went on a few dates with a woman and kept waiting to feel awkward or out of place. Instead, I felt nervous in a teenager sort of way, like my brain was rebooting. When we finally crossed that line, what surprised me most was how emotional it felt. Not in a heavy way, in a wow, there's a whole part of me I never actually lived in a way. I didn't stop being who I was, I just realized my story had more chapters than I thought.
It's so cute.
That's really cute.
It's so cute.
It's so funny too, like the common experience when you haven't been with the
explored a part of yourself.
Explored
really.
that part of yourself is like you feel
alive.
Like you feel also like you're like 14 again or something.
Yeah.
You know, like you feel like a teenager, like a kid in this way, where it puts you in this place of like feeling awkward or nervous or like that unconfident part of you when being in middle school or high school kind of like comes back. And
it's so
but there's
endearing.
something like fun about that and endearing about that.
Yeah.
It's just like such a sweet thing.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because I don't know how to explain it, but it's like in some ways I don't really like when adults act like children. If it's like a sweet way of being like silly, that's different. But you know what I'm saying? Like when adults throw like tantrums like a children or whatever, I find it extremely off-putting. But there's something so endearing about it where you kind of like revert back a little bit.
Yeah, being nervous to try something for the first time, like you did when you were in high school or whatever. It's so sweet.
It's so sweet. And I also thought this was super interesting because we've obviously talked about like everything in 2025 with JoJo, with Fletcher, with Billy, of theirs was the opposite of mostly only being with women and then going to being with men. And the way that the lesbian / LGBTQ community responded to that, And I wonder, I don't know. I can't think of a public figure that's a gay man that then came out as bi and was with a woman. But I'm like, I don't feel like the community would respond the same way. Do you?
I don't think that they do. I think
I
that
can't
there
think
is
of-
somebody.
I'm sure there is somebody.
I think his name is Lucas Gage or something.
Okay.
And he
I'm so bad
has
with
talked
names.
about it. I forget what he's in. He's an
Okay.
actor. And nobody cared. It didn't
What
even like make headlines.
Is that? Is that just the same thing that we've talked
I don't
about
know.
before, where it's like, even with us, most of the time we get trolled, it's from women, you know? Not always. We do get male trolls, don't get me wrong. We definitely do. But it's like, what is that? Why is it? It
I
feels
don't
like
know.
this like intense betrayal to the WLW community, you know? Like I think of with Fletcher, they're like, I can't even listen to your music anymore, and it's like, wait, why? You know, whereas like I would be so shocked if the community responded that same way to a man. And I don't know what that is, you
Yeah.
know?
I don't know. I don't know what that is, but I'm really happy for this guy.
And it's also
That's
just
sweet.
it's like whatever part of yourself that is, whether it is your sexual orientation, like any part of, we were talking about this the other night, just like exploring yourself and your whole identity is so important and
Yeah.
so powerful. And so, you know, like to me, that is one of the things about being queer that I feel like is, I mean, I kind of hate the, like, oh, it's a superpower, you know, because I don't know, it just sounds like a little bit cliche or watered down, or I don't know. But it's like, even if you explored your sexual identity and then still decided you were straight, or like pretty much predominantly straight, it's just that exploration piece, I think, that is so important. Because most people, when they are straight, you have no reason or incentive to explore that. Why would you? You don't have to answer for anything. No one's like demanding to know these questions about you, because you're just fitting in with the majority, you know? But it's that like exploration of self, I feel like that's the part that makes it so important. Even if whatever you land on might change or even be fluid or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's the journey, not
It's
the
the journey.
destination.
I know. He's in for an exciting exploration journey phase of like getting to see this whole part of himself that he's never had a chance to live or be before. And so I think it's so sweet.
But
and
it's
exciting.
also, it is scary, you know, because it's like when a piece of your identity that you felt was fixed is now different than what you thought.
Oh yeah.
It's really scary.
Yeah.
And I'm also surprised too, because one thing that you hear a lot when it's like a girl's first time with a girl, they're like, oh, I thought I wouldn't know what to do, but like we have the same parts, so it was actually really easy because I just did like what I would like, essentially. But this is different because you don't have the same parts. And
No.
if you've never even, I feel like that would be way scarier, you know? Because you're like, I don't even
I
know what to do
guess.
with a vagina. Like if you've never hooked up with a girl before, how do you know anything? And so
I
I
don't know.
like that it was such a good experience for him, because I'm just more surprised by that, because it feels like there's even more that's foreign, just on like a very physical level.
For sure.
That
Yeah.
it seems like it would be more intimidating.
I don't know. What do you think was more intimidating?
I think it's like the mental part going into it, where you're like, oh my, like I said, you feel scared because it's new, but then once you're in it, you're like, oh, it's the same.
It feels natural.
It feels natural. I think if you are comfortable, if you have been comfortable like in your own body or touching you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you know what to do more than you think you do.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it's more the build up going into it that like that's where the anxiety and the fear comes from.
Yeah.
Oh, Flack is crying outside.
Aw.
Oh. Do you want to let her in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 1 second.
Oh, we've got a dog situation. Or just let them all out. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so yeah. I like that it was good for him.
Me
and
too.
I love that the girl, I feel like that also means that she probably made him feel really comfortable too.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've talked about this before. It's like, I think there's a lot of biphobia towards bi men.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that comes more from the women than the men that they're dating.
I think so too.
Whereas like if they're hooking up with men and they know that the guy is bi, I think most gay men hooking up with a bi man wouldn't be like, ew.
No.
You know? Whereas like I would say like more straight girls, they don't like that as much. So
yeah.
But maybe she was queer too. I don't know. I love it.
Okay. We have a not so great first time.
Okay.
First time with a girl. I was 21, shy, and socially anxious. Went to a house party, got very drunk, left to go home to find an older straight woman had followed me from the party.
Ew.
She jumped me in the hallway and I went
Ew,
with it.
What? This is...
It was terrible sex.
Straights are jumping out now?
Apparently.
Okay.
Well, she might not be straight. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess she said she's an older straight woman, so... It was terrible sex. She was quite selfish and left literally immediately after, and I took a shower and cried while calling a friend.
Oh.
I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not going to criticize my younger self. I don't remember this woman's name, and I couldn't point her out of a lineup. But it did make me realize I wanted more for myself. Happy Wednesday.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so sad. Honestly, I feel like probably a lot of people had that type of experience where it's just like
a straight person jumping out of the shadows and
no, but just like a drunk.
Yes.
Not someone you were like actually that into. You kind of like end up in a situation and it's just like not great and
but I don't know,
and they're selfish and it's just like
okay, I think that with straight first times more personally, because even if you go back to the polls that I said, how it was like the majority, I think it was 75% said it was magical, life-changing, amazing.
Yeah.
You know, because, and I don't know if that is because almost like taking that step for, and it probably could go whether you're a woman with a woman, man with a man, but like your first gay sex moment. It feels like a bigger leap in some ways because, again, it's like, what does this mean about me and my identity? And
that builds more tension and excitement, which makes it like even better.
But I think it's also like you're even more careful about if you do it at all.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to do it unless you do like someone more. Whereas like with straight sex, it's kind of like, well, this is something I have to do by this certain age to almost like fit in. And so I guess like this person's good enough, like let's just get it over with. You know what I mean? Whereas like I don't feel like there's that same pressure because the pressure is there, but it like shows up in a different way where it's like, if I do this, what does this mean about me? So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Most of the time I feel like people do it with someone they like. Yeah. So I hate that this happened.
I think with drinking, a lot of things can happen. For sure. You know, and that's, ugh. But it's like, I love that she like called a friend and was like, I deserve way better than this, you know, because exactly. A lot of people would feel a lot of shame and,
right.
You know.
And I remember reading this message and responding back, and it was just like, I'm just glad that you had, it's like, even if the experience itself was not ideal, and by the way, I don't think it's anything for them not to feel proud about. They didn't do anything wrong, but it's like, it still gave you that greater knowing of something, you know, so important about the rest of your life and your identity. And I think that's so important.
Yeah. What was your first time like?
Okay, so this is the thing. And maybe this is the question we should have posed at the very beginning. What? But it's like, some people are like, what is lesbian sex? You know? Like, it means different things to different people. And I remember, like, even you had asked me, before you and I had kissed or anything, when we were just texting, before I came to San Francisco, and you were asking about the girl that I had seen a few years before, and you asked if we had sex. And I was like, no. Because still in my mind, in my, like, straight mind, I felt like, okay, to have lesbian sex, like, there has to be a strap on. Like, to me, because a straight person thinks that sex needs to have a penis. I feel like that is why. And you're like, if you're just like touching each other, like licking each other, whatever, like, yeah, obviously oral sex is sex, whatever. But like, I didn't connect that necessarily. And so my perception of sex was different than it is now. Okay. So my point is like, what is the first?
But hadn't you had sex with other girls before that as well?
Yes. But even like I told you, I told you no. And I wasn't I didn't feel like, oh, I'm lying because I don't want her. It wasn't that. It was like because I had never used a strap-on in sex.
So when you were texting me and being like, I'm really nervous because I've never done this before,
Yeah.
that's what you were referring to?
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't just like hooking up at all.
Well, I think
Like you were.
no.
I'm so confused now because okay, so when we first we're gonna decide to be together,
Yeah.
and you were gonna come to San Francisco, like one of the things you were like the most nervous about was like hooking up for the first time.
Yes, but you know that I had hooked up with girls before.
Yes, but you were like, but I've never like done this before, and I'm like,
I had never done it as intention. Well, I think it was multifaceted. Soberly was one piece, and like intentional. The girl who I had seen for a little bit a few years before, it was more intentional than the girls when I was way younger, where like I had threesomes or like other types of group situations, and that was very like drug and alcohol induced, you know, like young and wild party, but there were also still dudes involved.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so there was nothing intentional about it other than just craziness, you know? And then the girl who I dated, or whatever you want to call it, I feel like that's dating, casually saw for a little bit before, that was more intentional, where it was like, oh, I like you. You know, we would like, we were like dating and it was cute, but it still wasn't, I don't actually know if we ever hooked up soberly. I can't remember because it was a long time ago now.
The sober factor makes sense to me. Like that makes things a lot more stressful.
But to me, that's connected with intentionality.
Okay.
Where it's like because you know how like if you are hooking up with someone new, and when you were younger, if you like had roommates, and if you came back and you're like, yeah, we also had sex this morning, they're like, whoa, you had sober sex too? Like that's crazy. That's way crazier than just drunken sex the night before. Mm-hmm. You know, it like means so much more because it means like, no, I actually choose you and want you in my sober self as well. So to me, that feels connected to being intentional with like, I want this person.
Yes.
And I had never pursued a relationship with a girl before. That was what it was, you know? And even with her, it was like, I like you, but I don't want to date anyone right now. I want to be single.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You're learning all of this for the first time.
I have a lot more questions and I'm going to be asking you off air.
Well, ask some of them now.
But so the first time that you ever hooked up with a girl?
I guess that would be when I was like in high school. Or what are we talking about hooked up? This is what I'm saying. Like I told you.
What you would consider to be having sex now.
Having sex, yeah. So high school.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was that like for you?
Like
Were you nervous? Were you?
No, I just told you. It was very induced with a lot of substances. I was like a wild party girl, you know? So it was just like fun. It was just pure fun.
Yeah.
And I did not feel any way about it after. I felt zero shame. I felt zero, like, what does this mean about me? I was like, that was fucking awesome. And I also still liked guys. Like, it literally didn't feel like anything other than fun.
And there was you didn't feel like it, like...
I did not question
your identity.
At all. Granted, I was probably having a horrible come down. You know, like, I was obviously not and even in college, we know. It's like I would, like, make out with girls... A lot of people, but it's like everyone makes out with girls in college. So it's like I just never questioned it.
Fascinating.
And I always thought, well, everyone could kind of go either way, really. Like I just genuinely I didn't know I needed to come out as bi. Even when I dated a girl, I still didn't question my identity. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that means about me.
I don't know. That's really unique.
But I also think because my friends at the time where I was living, no one was like, whoa, what does that mean?
Still, the fact that you weren't having those questions is wild.
But I think sometimes you have those questions because of what's being imposed onto you, of other people wanting answers, and then it makes you feel like you need answers too. Mm-hmm. And so because people were like, oh yeah, I like her. You guys are so cute. I was like, I know, right? And I was like, well, I still felt like I was straight, which doesn't make any sense.
So you never had the feeling of like, when you did hook up with a girl, be like, oh, like this makes sense now. Because for me, like when I hooked up with the first girl, I was like, everything like makes sense to me now. Like my whole life. It all just like clicked into place.
I felt that way after meeting you, even before we hooked up. Like, you know, how we like had that falling in love, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Episode 1, you guys go back and listen to it if you haven't. But I felt that clicking into place moment.
Yeah.
But I told you this before, that it's like the first person who I ever did anything more than just kiss was with a girl.
I know.
And I was really young, like really, really young when that happened. And so I don't know, like, I would think I was too young to be like, oh, everything makes sense now. Like, why would I have that feeling?
That's so true.
I didn't have anything to even contrast it with. I had
That's
never
so
hooked
true.
up with a boy. So when I continued to have those moments with girls, I wasn't like, oh, it all makes sense now.
You're like, this is just normal for me. I've been doing this since I was 12.
Exactly. I was like, oh, this is just how it is. Like, I like both and all, you know?
Amazing.
So
unique.
but I felt that after you and I hooked up for the first time, but I don't know if it's because you were a girl, or are a girl, you still are, or if it was just because I like found my person. That's more what it felt like, was like, oh, this is how I'm supposed to feel, like this is that
Sure.
one, you know what I mean? So
Okay.
I don't know.
I like it.
Okay.
Hey, Caitlin, Alex. I was
Hi.
29 the first time I was ever with a woman. I dated men my whole life and always assumed the anxiety I felt around intimacy was just me. Then I met her. We were friends first, and one night we stayed up talking and something shifted. When we finally kissed, I remember thinking, oh, this is why it always felt a little wrong before. My body felt calm in a way it never had, not dramatic, just right. The next morning, I didn't feel confused. I felt clear, like I'd stopped pretending my whole life was pointing somewhere else.
That's basically exactly what you were just talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely confused in the sense of like more just like stressed about the thought of coming out.
Yeah.
But it felt really good. And
Wait,
I was like,
I have a question, because I forget. You guys had kissed before you hooked up, or no? Did you do it all in the same time?
we had kissed before. Yeah, we had like
So
made
did
out.
you have that feeling even just from the make out of like it all makes sense now, or was it not until the sex?
It was more so when we had sex, but also with the kissing, yeah.
Yeah. Of just like, this is how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Because for context, you had boyfriends before. You
Many.
never had sex with a boy, but you had
No.
like made out with boys and stuff, you know?
Yeah, like hooked up with them, yeah.
Yeah. So you did have something to contrast it with.
Yeah. And my friends were always like, why can't you date anyone for like longer than 3 months? You know? And it's like, it would always like hit that wall, usually between 1 and 3 months where I'd be like, I have to end it. Like, you know, because of multiple reasons.
Yeah,
Number
you
one, I
didn't
don't want
wanna
to
have
hook up with
sex
them.
with them, yeah.
And now it's like at this point where it's like,
We can't just be best friends.
exactly. And then there's like, you hit this like intimacy wall with them.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, they're wanting these things from you that you don't want to give them. And so you'd rather just not be around them. And then like, you want to spend less and less time with them. And you're like, now you're at this place where you're like, God, they're so annoying. They're so needy. Like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I have to break up with them. Like, I'm avoiding them at all costs.
Which you could feel regardless of gay, straight.
For
you
sure.
know, just
But
like,
it was
it's just
purely
not the right.
based on their gender.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like,
Well, and also all of your friends were straight, and so they would be like talking about boys and their crushes. And did you ever feel like, do I feel that? Like, did you ever or were you like, oh, I guess this is just how it feels, and it's not as great as it
I just thought that
sounds?
they were dramatic.
Yeah, like they were exaggerating it, kind of.
I just thought like, I'm just more of a tomboy. I'm not that dramatic of a person. Like, and these girls are just like girls. They're just extremely dramatic.
Okay,
That's
can
kind of
we
like what I
not
thought.
categorize girls as just being dramatic?
I know, but that's what I thought when I was younger.
Okay.
Was like, I was raised around all guys. So it was like, I just felt more like, yeah, I'm just like not that type of girl. I don't feel that way anymore.
True, but you're not, I mean, you're
I don't-
dramatic.
I don't feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
But at that time I did when I was a lot younger, where I was like, oh, because like, you know, like girls were always like boy crazy and just
Yeah.
like all these things. I was just like, I'm just not that way, you know?
But did you ever question, like, do I feel the way, you know, so was it more just you kind of dismissed it as like, okay, they're just like being over the top because that's how they are, and you never questioned, is what I'm feeling what they're feeling?
No.
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 But then once you kissed / then also hooked up with a girl, you were like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They aren't dramatic. I am actually
because
repressed.
then I was like, then I became like extremely emotional over this person, dramatic, like all of these things. And I'm like, oh, it like unlocked that within me. And I was like, this all makes sense now.
Yeah. You just didn't have those same, because you even said like you liked some of the guys that you dated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of them I liked a lot.
Right. But it just would never get to that place. You would never be like going crazy over this guy.
No.
And we kind of, we need
no,
a little
and like
bit of crazy.
there was only one guy that I like really, really liked, and I was like sad when we broke up.
Mm-hmm. But you also weren't sad enough to stay with him. You know, like you weren't sad enough to be like, okay, no, I can't get through this. I should have sex with him. Like,
no, well, part of it was like we broke up because I left to go study abroad,
and that's when you met the girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the clicking into place thing, I think it's
very,
very
real.
Common.
Yeah, it's real, and I don't know, like it's amazing how like, because this person's like 29, right? And it's like to have that experience at that age as well of like, oh, this makes sense for the first time. It's like, in some ways, like, I don't know. I always felt like, so that happened to me when I was like 21-ish. Like I was about to graduate college. And when I look back on it, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I wish it would have happened earlier.
Yeah.
Like
but
I wish,
that's still,
maybe even like
21.
my freshman year of college or like
yeah,
high school. I don't know. There's still something in me that's like, oh, I wish I would have like figured it out sooner.
I genuinely wonder, I should have put that pull up. I feel like almost anyone would kind of wish that unless it happened in high school or like.
You wish you would have like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I wish that it's like in some ways, yes, because I'm like, oh, I wish I would have just even experienced like dating more girls.
Yeah.
Just for, again, just to like explore that part of just to know myself the way I know myself now at a younger age. But like, that's life. Like, that's how it's supposed to be.
I know.
So I get it. But I think most people, almost regardless of age, unless you were in high school when you came out, I think most people would wish that it happened sooner because it makes more sense. Your life feels like it makes more sense.
It does.
So why wouldn't you want that to happen sooner?
Yeah, I know. It's so true. But then it's like, it happens the way it's supposed to happen at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Our last one. Hey, Kayla and Alix. My first time with a woman was not the magical queer rom-com moment I expected. I was 31. So nervous, I walked straight into her glass door. After that, everything was awkward. I knocked over a lamp. We couldn't get one of my boots off. And at one point I blurted out, I've literally never done this before. Like I was apologizing for some bad customer service. We didn't fall in love. It wasn't smooth or sexy, but we ended up lying on the floor laughing. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm not broken. I'm just gay and extremely nervous. We never dated, but I went home lighter. It wasn't a fairy tale. It was still exactly what I needed.
Yeah.
That's cute. Also, like...
Very realistic.
Very realistic. And because my 20s was the era of skinny jeans.
Oh, God.
And like where jeans are so tight, they're like leggings.
Yeah.
Trying to
remember jeggings?
Get jeggings off of a girl you're trying to hook up with. It's like, you have to be the Hulk. Like, it is a whole effort of trying to like get somebody's pants off. It's ridiculous.
I didn't really wear pants a lot, I guess.
Honey.
I meant like when I was wearing skirts and stuff. I don't know. But because I don't remember feeling that. But
trying to get like somebody with like knee-high zip-up boots wearing like jeggings, trying to get like all these things off. It's like, it's a whole production.
But again, this is why I like this, because that is realistic. Like, yes, we have the 15% who are married now, but I think, and we've even shared this before, our first kiss was not good because I was also super nervous, like this person, where I was like, oh my God, I just felt so stiff and so, like, it was just, everything was,
it was almost
very
better, like,
overwhelming.
it was almost better, like, the morning we woke up together for the first time.
Way better. What do you mean almost better?
Well,
it was way better.
It was like, yeah, it was like you like woke up in the morning and then like all your nerves were gone and then it was just like everything was better.
Because again, I think it's the buildup. It's the buildup in your head of, what does this mean? What is this? Because for me, it wasn't just oh, does this mean I'm gay? It wasn't that. It was like, I know, I'm like 99% positive this is my person.
Yeah.
So now my whole it's not just like, am I gay? Am I not? Might I marry a woman? Like, I knew that going into it. So it just felt like there was just so much riding on this. Mm-hmm. And there was still this huge question mark of like, but we hadn't been physical at all. So I was like, but what if that's weird? And then this feeling that I'm feeling is there, but then the physical part isn't there. And it just felt, there was just like so much pressure and like, what does this mean for the rest of my life? And I had how long is the travel? Like 12-hour travel to get to you, to like just be festering on all of these things. Yes. To then arrive after 12, maybe even longer than 12 hours, like 16 hours with the drive and everything.
It takes so long.
Yeah. So it was like, I also had a long travel day, slightly jet lagged. Like, I feel disgusting. First time back in the States in a year. Like, it was just a lot. Okay. And then you wanted to make out in San Francisco airport. And I was like, this is a lot for me. This is a lot.
You were so nervous.
I was so nervous. And then even like, then we go back to your apartment and it was like, hi. Like, it just felt, I felt so awkward. And then I think, yeah, like you said, it's almost just like sleeping. And then the next day I was like, okay, this is just, it felt more natural and normal. Mm-hmm. But I do get that feeling of like the awkwardness of it, which can also happen in straight sex. There's
sure.
Like an awkwardness to sex.
Yeah.
Weird sounds come out sometimes. Like weird things come out sometimes. You know, it's like, it's called intimacy for a reason.
Yeah.
Because you're really getting to know this person and it can feel awkward or, you know,
yeah,
laughable. And I think all of that is,
I love that they were able to laugh. And then it's just like,
Exactly.
yeah, and then you just go on with your life and you meet someone else and you clicks better and you have better chemistry and better sex.
Wait,
or whatever.
I've never asked you this before. Have you hooked up with someone else who it was their first time with a girl? You have, right?
Yeah.
And were they like, what is that like as the person who it's not their first time? Like, do you feel a responsibility?
I never did, no.
You just felt like you were really cool. You're like, yeah, look at me.
Not like really cool. I just thought like, this is going to be good. You know, like, I don't know what to say. You know, it's going to be good and it's going to be awesome and they're going to go on with their life and be stoked that this happened, you know?
So it was more of just like a one-off thing.
Yeah. I never hooked up.
Not someone who was like a baby gay. I like you. I'm coming out.
No, I never had that experience.
Like that.
No, it was always like a one-night stand.
And was that person like, would they call themselves straight? Where they're like, I never do this, but I'm going to.
Everyone that I think I did, I mean, I don't know. Maybe not everyone was, but everyone that I can remember at least was straight.
Said they were straight. Yeah.
And had never like hooked up with a girl before. But I'm like, if you're hooking up with me, you're not straight.
Right.
I'm sorry. Like.
Yeah. Sorry. We get to decide that for you.
Yeah. You're just not.
You're just not. Straight people don't hook up with the same sex.
Yeah. It's like you don't. I don't know. You don't meet me at a bar or wherever we're at and then be like, you're going to go home. Yeah, exactly. Go home with me.
Yeah.
If you're straight. Like.
I agree. But so did you ever, like, did they ever panic or anything? Like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I've never done this.
No, it was always good. It was always really good.
Do you think because it was more in that bar drunk setting?
I think that helps.
I think it does help. It's just like your inhibitions are down. You feel more confident.
Yeah, I think it helps a lot. I think
that's
sober sex is a lot.
It's a lot.
Even now, like, I've been like sober, whatever, for 5 years basically. You've been sober longer.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, could be fun to like have sex not sober.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot. Yeah. I don't know. And sometimes it's nice to just like have your inhibitions down a little bit.
A little
and like,
silly.
yeah, like not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think too, like, especially in a long-term relationship where you're like, you can kind of like mix it up a little bit more if you got like some other substances going on.
Yeah, because it's hard to like drop into that.
Yeah.
You know, like that mentality when you're like,
yeah,
it's you. We were just talking about the freaking dishes and the dogs.
Exactly.
And yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm like, I don't miss alcohol and I don't miss drinking, but I do sometimes miss that.
Yeah.
Of
yeah,
like being tipsy, being a little like
a little silly.
Intoxicated, and like you tap into different parts of yourself as well when you are in that mode.
Yeah, I know. And it's like in an ideal world you could do that soberly too. But it's like, can you? I mean, you can, I guess, if you, it just takes a lot more effort. You know, it's a lot more effort.
Yeah.
So to all of our sober sister wives out there, we get it.
We get it.
The first time we had sex, we were stone cold sober and have been ever since. Just
because I don't think I'd ever had sex with somebody for the first time sober before you.
Really, I'm trying to think if I have for the first time.
Never. No, I don't think I'd ever.
I think I have. I don't know. I can't remember. It feels like another lifetime ago. But it makes it like, when you're younger in your 20s and you usually meet people being like, there's just always alcohol involved, even if it's just 1 or 2 glasses of wine. It doesn't have to mean you were wasted, but it's like
just like a little loosey-goosey.
Or just go on a date before, and again, you have 1 or 2 glasses of wine. So it makes sense. But
I had never had.
Did you feel stressed before we hooked up?
No.
Did you connect the sober dot then? Not really, huh?
I was a little nervous
because of
like
the
a
same
normal
feeling of like, it felt like there was just so much riding on it. We had just bought
we just
land
liked
together.
Each other so much, and so I was like nervous because of that, and because we're sober a little bit. But like,
for me, it was also like we just bought land together. If this is bad or weird, and now we've hooked up and we've bought this land together, we might be living next to each other in a foreign country.
I'm more of a feeler than a thinker. You're more of a thinker. So it's like, for me, I was just like feeling into everything, and I was just excited. I wasn't like in my head.
I was both though, because I was, if I wasn't feeling it, then I wouldn't have followed the feelings is what brought me to San Francisco to be with you at all, you know?
I thought it was my eyes.
Honey, relax.
Okay, so do you have a Who's the Problem for us this week?
I forget it.
Do you want me to go first?
You go first and maybe I'll remember it.
Okay, so this relates to my first time.
Okay.
So before I had hooked up with the girl who was like my first time, I had went to visit her, and I was straight.
Yeah, that's laughable.
Yeah. And we had gone out together, and I was really attracted to her. And I had like thought about kissing her before. And like when I would, because she lived in another state as I did. So I went to visit her, and she would text me and stuff. And when I'd be like out and about and drinking, I'd be like, there was always a part of me that was like, I want to kiss this person. But then I would shove that down into my soul and ignore that I even had that thought. So I would never like actually question my identity or anything.
I feel like that's how I felt around you.
Oh, really?
I told you that though too, you know, like on New Year's, I'm like, oh, like we should kiss, you know?
Yeah, that's how I felt about her.
Yeah.
And so when I went to visit her, we went out partying. It was my first time going to a gay bar. And I got like basically blackout drunk. Mm-hmm. And we ended up making out on the way home. Like we were walking home together, and we like started making out.
And had you already made out?
No.
This is the first time?
This is the first time.
Okay.
And the next day.
And then did you sleep together? Like in the same bed, I mean.
We did, but also her gay boy best friend was there, and he slept in the bed with us. We were all like out together, and then he stayed with us.
Yeah.
And so we like made out on the walk home, and then we like all went to bed together. And the next day, the guy was like, y'all remember like making out with each other last night? And I was like, no, I lied.
Oh.
Because I was like so nervous and like embarrassed, and I was just like, and so I basically like lied and said that I was blackout drunk and that I didn't remember. And I think she was like really hurt.
Yeah, because then it's like feeds the predator narrative.
Yeah.
lesbians, of like her being like, oh, cool. So I just like took advantage of this drunk straight girl.
Yeah.
Honey.
And so I want to know if I'm the problem because
I get where it's like you're also just a closeted, panicked baby gay.
Exactly. And then the next night we ended up.
But who would the other problem be?
The next night we ended up making out, and I was like not
Less
wasted,
drunk.
you know? And so, but I'm like, am I the problem? Because I'm like, I couldn't admit to her, or is it okay that I did that? Because I was just like so nervous.
Yeah, I think it would only be you were the problem if you, and I just know your personality, so I know you, like, you know, sometimes when that happens, when a closeted person either gets aggressive, I feel like that happens more with men. Yeah. I know that when it happened physically with you, but even like verbally aggressive of like, ew, what, you know, and being really mean about it, then I feel like you would be the problem. But just denying it.
No, I laughed. I was like, we did? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
It's like, I'm sure
remember,
it made her feel bad.
Yes.
And that sucks. You don't want to hurt people. But also, that's the cool thing about being gay or queer in any way. Like, we've all gone through the whole cycle. So we're like, I know why they're doing that. You know what I mean? It sucks. And I hate that I have to be hurt because of it. Yeah. But you have more grace for it because you know how hard it can be. Yeah. So I don't think you're the problem. If you kept doing it to her, you know what I mean? Then, yes. Like, if, you know.
No, then we obviously made out the next night and everything. And
yes, but it's
fine.
like, but sometimes that happens with the closeted people. They'll keep doing it. Even the next night and the next night, and then be like, ew, what? No, we didn't, you know. If you were just like psychologically tormenting her, yes, that would be a problem.
It was just once.
Just a one
I still feel bad about it though.
Of course you do.
I still think about it like, oh, I feel bad that I lied.
But it's also like you guys ended up dating. Yeah. Like, did you ever express any of this to her? No. Probably not. Oh
I hope she doesn't watch this.
I highly doubt she's watching our podcast, but
she might.
I'm sure
I wouldn't doubt it, actually. She might watch it.
Well, okay. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think it's a very relatable baby gay moment.
Yeah, that's true.
And we aren't always our best selves as baby gays.
No, we're not.
As baby anythings. It's like
you were your best self.
Was I?
I think so. Yeah.
We were talking about this the other day because one of our queer friends was talking about like the internalized homophobia she's experiencing and wanted to talk to us. She's been out for not as long as either of us and wanted to like hear our experiences of it. And I was like, I don't know if I had that. I was like, do you think I did? Like, no. I'm not trying to be like, ooh, I don't even have that. But genuinely, I was like, do you think I did? And you're like, no. You definitely had zero shame. It's weird, actually.
You have internalized heterophobia.
Proud of it. It's not internalized. That's externalized. I have externalized heterophobia.
Who's the problem?
I don't remember, and
we can skip it.
It's so far gone. I can't.
That's okay.
I can't reach it. Oh, okay, let's just say, who's the problem? Internalized homophobia versus externalized heterophobia. You know?
What do you think?
I mean, obviously, probably any phobia is not great, right? And externalized means that you're probably being a dick about it, like me. So probably me. I'm probably the problem. We'll let the sister wives decide.
I would rather have externalized heterophobia than internalized homophobia.
Yeah, and it's not real. It's not like I literally, you know, but it's just a jokey thing. Yeah. It's the internalized part of it is usually because there's so much shame there.
Yeah, the shame. Yeah.
And that's the part
and I don't want people to have that. No. I'd rather have them have what you have.
Just be who you are. Be out and proud. Yeah. And that's also like, yeah, it's just not available to everyone based on safety.
Their experiences.
Too, you know? So it's like, I do get that. And we are happy you're here and you're queer, whether you're in the closet or not, because maybe just like listening to us in your earbuds or watching us, whatever you're doing, can help you feel out of the closet for a little hour of your day, you know?
Exactly.
We love you.
We love you.
Keep sending us the goods, the stories, the polls. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.